Today we're dealing with immersed in, I suppose, Jiashan's great koan, clasping the. What is your state of mind? What is somebody else him? What's it like to be you? What's your state of mind? And he says, clasping the young to their breasts, the monkeys have gone behind the green peak. Holding a flower in its beak, a bird alights before the blue cliff. A great teacher called Yuan Wu sort of lived at the Blue Cliff also, and centuries later collected all the stories. So yeah, and so let's feel it. What is your state of mind? Feeling the time, what is your state of mind? I'm in Santa Barbara. Actually, I'm in Summerland, which is the house of someone who generously lent us his house for a couple of weeks. And it's a old beach cottage. My state of mind. And actually, it's fog. It's fog everywhere. Looking out to the fog. It's kind of wonderful. You know, the truth is always there's a certain amount of mystery about who we are and where we are. And someone asked Jiashan, well, who are you? And what's it like being you? And things like that. And you can imagine there are a lot of things. If someone asks, what's it like to be you? And he said this beautiful poem. Clasping their young to their breasts, the monkeys have gone behind the green cliff. Holding a flower in its beak, a bird alights at the blue cliff. The monkeys have disappeared into the mountains. And then a bird appears with a flower in its beak. Kind of not too bad being Jiashan, you know. That's it. Just feeling the time, hearing the bell. What is your state of mind? And so with a great koan like this, I think it's good just to keep company with it. Let it into your heart, see what happens. Great teachers they don't instruct us by saying either philosophical things or we must do this. They say how it is and how they perceive it. You can tell there are a couple of things going. He's far in the mountains and everything goes quiet. The tenderness and the image of the world looking after us, the monkeys holding the young to their breasts. Then they've gone behind the green mountains, the green peak, and all the vastness is here. And then a bird appears with a flower in its beak and lands by the blue cliff. So feel the silence and feel whatever is beautiful for you. And you can tell that, the old teachers did this great thing where they gave you the image for their own peace and their own empathy and their own excitement about the Dharma, really. I actually chose this koan because I ran across it. Wasn't or isn't in the traditional Rinzai curriculum, which has, depends how you count, but well over 1,000 koans in it. And but I just ran across it somewhere and was really struck by it and stayed with me and haunted me. And I realized, oh, this is for me. This was years ago, so I was walking around and I wasn't near any monkeys, but it was a beautiful thing to be carrying, and the monkeys holding their young and a bird with a flower in its beak alighting. And so the koan has always stayed with me, and so every now and again it comes to mind, and I like us all to share it, And also I want to tell you, one of the nice things about the koan is it comes with a great it comes with a great story. Jiashan comes with a good story, and he was one of those people who's really devoted to the Dharma, and he loved it, and he was kind of pretty scholarly and philosophical, and he decided he wanted to share the Dharma, so he started teaching, and then one day one of the great teachers, Dahui, received transmission from his teacher, was wandering around seeing what else he could learn, which is kind of a tradition, visiting other teachers. And so then he wandered in to where Jiashan was giving a lecture. And someone attending the talk asked Jiashan, what is the Dharmakaya? What is the essential, formless body of reality? The body of emptiness. Pretty technical term. And Jiashan said the Dharmakaya is formless. The body of the Dharma is formless. And then the student asked, what is the Dharma I? And Jiashan said, the Dharma I is without defect. And when he heard this, Dahui laughed in spite of it. He couldn't help laughing. And Jiashan got down off the lecture palace and said to Dahui, something I said, you think it's not correct. And so you laughed out loud. Please don't withhold your compassionate instruction for me. So it's kind of sweet. He immediately was modest and said, well, if I do need to learn some more, tell me. And I suppose that's kind of pretty much there, isn't it? And Dahui said, haven't you had a teacher? You were teaching, didn't anybody teach you? He said, no, I've had none. May I ask you to clarify these matters? And Dahui said, well, I don't think I'm your person, but I invite you to go and see the boat monk at Hua Ting. And Jiashan said, who is he? And Dahui said, he doesn't have a single roof tile above him. There's all vastness and emptiness above him. The sky is, and below him there is no ground to stand on or plant a hoe. But if you want to see him, you have to travel. You have to change into your traveling clothes. After the meeting was over, Jiashan packed his bag and set out. So immediately he went to the boat monk. And the story of the boat monk. And so that's the first thing, isn't it? It's a great thing if we can, if we can just turn around like that. He's kind of famous and everybody's looking up to him, and well, somewhat famous anyway, and everyone's looking up to him, and somebody just laughs at his teaching and he realizes, hang on, they might have a point. And so it's rather touching, isn't it? And then the boat monk is this real character, and there are three notable teachers studied with. There's this great teacher called Yeshang, and the boat monk studied with him, and he studied with him for 30 years and received his permission to teach, and his Dharma friends also studying with him all those years were Dahui and Yunyan, who also became legendary major teachers. But when he left, he said, he got transmission and he decided, I'll go off. And he said to them, you too must go into the world your separate ways and uphold the essence of the Dharma. Hold the path for people who want it. Which is kind of what we're all doing right now. And but I'm so not fit to be an abbot. I'm just too wild. I delight in nature and doing what I want, and I'm undisciplined. And he said, however, if you come upon people of great ability, send one to me. Let me teach that person. I'll pass on everything I've learned. In this way, I can repay the kindness of our late teacher. So then Dechang departed, and he went to a river and spent his life rowing a small boat, just as a ferryman, ferrying people across the river. And they knew he was a monk, but they didn't know he was anything special. He just asked them what they wanted, and he'd row them across the river, and they'd pay him a little bit, and that was that, you know. And they called him the boat monk. But some of them realized he was a bit strange. Once at the boat landing, an official said, "What do you do each day?" And he held his oar straight up in the air and said, "Do you understand?" And his official said, "I don't understand." And Jiashan said, "If you only row in the clear waves, it's hard to find the golden fish." You know, in other words, you have to go into the trouble of the world and things like that. You can't just want to be right and peaceful all the time. So anyway, so that's our boat monk. And then, and so then Jiashan was, you know, the boat monk's friend sent Jiashan to him. When Decheng the boat monk saw Jiashan coming, he said, "Reverend, what temple do you live in?" And Jiashan said, "I don't abide in a temple. Where I abide is not like." Decheng says, it's not like what? And it's not the Dharma that meets the eye, said Jiashan. "Where did you learn this teaching?" said Decheng. "Not a place which eyes or ears can perceive." "What rubbish," said the boat monk. "You're like a donkey who's tied to a post for countless years." Then Decheng said, "You've let down a 1,000-foot line and you're fishing very deep, but your hook is just 3 inches too shallow." So, yeah. And in a way, that's right. You know, you can be very far along in meditation, but there's just something missing. And that's what he's saying. He's saying, and what you're saying is just nonsense anyway, so it's just in your head. And it's rather nice that Decheng said, "What nonsense." And then your hook is still 3 inches short. You know, why didn't you say something? And Jiashan opened his mouth to speak, and the boat monk just hit him into the water with the oar. And he climbed up and climbed back into the boat, and Decheng yelled to him, "Speak, speak!" And Jiashan tried to speak, opened his mouth, and then the boat monk hit him again. So he was going all the way. And at that moment, Jiashan had a great awakening. And he nodded his head 3 times. And the boat monk could tell he understood just by the change in his being. And the boat monk said, "Now you have the pole and the line. Just act by your nature and don't defile the clear waves by talking rubbish like you were." And Jiashan said, "What do you mean by throw off the line and cast down the pole?" And John said, "It's really about the fishing line hangs in the green water, drifting without intention." And Jiashan said this great thing. He said, "The Master's words carry impenetrable mystery. It's though your speech is without words." And so, and the boat monk said, "When the hook disappears into the river waves, a golden fish is encountered." And Jiashan covered his ears, saying, even though that's beautiful, it's still nonsense." "That's it," said the boat monk. "That's it. So go to some place that doesn't have any trace. I stayed with Yeshang for 30 years, and what I learned I've passed on to you today. Now that you have it, go deep into the mountains, find 1 or 2 people to inherit the teaching who won't let it die." And Jiashan said goodbye, and that was their 30 years of teaching that one afternoon. And as he walked away, he looked back at the boat monk, and the boat monk yelled, "Reverend!" And Jiashan stopped and turned, and he held up the oar straight up. "Do you say there's anything else?" And then he tipped over the boat and disappeared into the water. And that's that story, you know, the great story of how Jiashan became free. And so it's an interesting thing, you know, like I think about some people. I think Jiashan, although he had this sudden experience, he was somebody that little by little was getting free, and you're still talking nonsense. He thought he was obliged to talk nonsense. You might find that yourself sometimes. He had to hold his role and be important and all that. And the boat monk, the advantage of him, he was undisciplined and wild. He was such a wild creature, but the advantage of him was he was genuine, you know. And he didn't sort of talk drivel. You know, when we have teachers' meetings or senior people's meetings, we developed a thing, you know, just a code, like the rules for meeting when you're talking about something. Be brief, which means not long. That's 2 rules right there. And the third one is don't talk bullshit. and so you can see the boat monk really had that down, you know. We found that very helpful for Zen teachers and senior physicians as well when I was working with them. So it's sort of fun, just because you're expected to sort of know things and hold forth and stuff, and I don't know, it wears everybody out, you know. So you can have more fun than that. And so what Jiashan's fun was clasping their young to their breasts. The monkeys have gone behind the green mountains. They've gone back into the green mountains. Holding a flower in its beak, a bird alights at the blue cliff. It's a great noble thing when everything goes quiet and then something appears. That's sort of the essence of awakening. And there's a great thing in the Book of Serenity which says, outside, it's one of the poems, outside the screen of luminous jewels, wind and moon are like day. It's so bright in the moonlight. In front of the cliff of dead trees, flowers and plants are always in spring. I think the metaphor's kind of there, but when everything, it seems like everything goes still in the mind. Spring comes, everything is spring, everything is alive and fresh. And you are part of everything. You know, it's a marvelous thing, really, that, you know, when you start to realize that the Upanishads say, I am that. You start to realize that the monkeys holding the young to their breasts, the bird alighting. I'm down in Summerland near Santa Barbara, and it's a beautiful refuge, really. And I sort of walked out the other day, and everything was at peace. And even the smell, there was a little funky gas station there, and people getting gas, and that was it too, you know. That was just like the bird alighting with a flower in its beak, the smell of petrol, you know. It's all right. This is me. This is life. This is the self. Well, the old Japanese Zen teacher Koan Yamada used to say, "Who are you? What is the self?" Things like that. And sometimes he'd have a stick ready to whack you, but if he didn't like what you said, but mainly you just didn't want him to say "bah," what drill. And but the thing he liked, and he didn't mind if you said, "I'm sad today, I'm happy today," or whatever. But he liked best if you said something like that. You know, the mountains, the ocean, the mist over the ocean, like that. The trees hanging over the house, the birds. That's you. So everything in your house, everything, or wherever you are, whether you're in your house or wherever you are, that's you. And that's your true self, you know. What is your original face before your parents were born? There's nothing wrong with looking back through your life and feeling like I learned this and I learned this thing, it was a dopey wrong thing to learn in childhood or whatever. But what's here right now, that's you. That's your vast nature. And it goes out, you can feel it goes out to the universe. Just as soon as the mind gets a little bit still and you stop hanging on to all the thoughts that come and what if this and what if that. You know, the 2 a.m. thoughts when you think, it's basically, I don't know, what if I left the stove on when I went on vacation? It's basically that kind of thought, you know. What will I do about? And mainly it's nothing. What you'll do about it is nothing. It's 2 a.m. The monkeys clasping their young to their breasts have gone behind the blue cliff. That's what you'll do about it. And a bird holding a flower in its beak alights. Oh, actually, I keep switching the green mountains and the blue cliffs, but they're both, it's good enough. You know, the monkey alights before the blue cliff. The green and blue words, kind of pretty much the same. So, yeah. And I just love that bird appearing. That's, you know, you. That's your own true face appearing. And if you feel inside, you can feel there's a kind of the spring that's always there. You know, it's in front of the cliff of dead trees, flowers, and the flowers are always in spring. Yeah, they're always in bloom. And that's, you know, you can feel delight when you stop doing the things with your mind you do, you know, impressing other people, impressing yourself. Mainly it's sort of keeping yourself. That's why people talk about the dead trees, because all the efforts of like impressing people or whatever we're doing, impressing ourselves or explaining ourselves or justifying ourselves or saying, I didn't really do it and you don't understand, all those kind of things. When they die down, the flowers are always in spring. So I don't know, it's nice to keep company with you, and it's nice to keep company with Jiashan. You know, he's such a great person. The sound of the bell has always been here. The eternal temple bell. You are vaster than what's troubling you, and you can help people more if it's not troubling you and you're not fussing and trying to get the right strategy and help them and things like that. The universe is also holding all of us. And it is all of us. The thing about meditation is don't try too hard. This is something genuine you can do for yourself and for everybody who cares about you and loves you and whom you love. Stop trying to fix them. Stop trying to fix yourself just for this moment of peace. And naturally, you will always, the spring will appear in that way. It's hard to notice that, but, it's so, I don't know what it is. It's too late to fix things. We have to live. This moment will never come again. And here we are in the vastness of it. It'll also never leave us, you know. We're always in the here of things. It's kind of grand. Clasping their young to their breasts, the monkeys have gone behind the green mountain, holding a flower in its beak. The bird alights at the blue cliff. So you can feel how the time, the vastness just comes to us. And just be happy about that, you know. Can't be explained. We can't really run around and find someone we can thank for it. It's yours. It's yours. It's all yours. In some sense we can, I don't know, there's nothing we need to do, but what we do is make a path for others who want to find this out. Provide a path, a lightly trodden path through the trees, and the trees burst into flower. Just to sit here together at peace. The mountains are grateful, the ocean is grateful, everything is at peace. This is Milosh. I looked out the window at dawn and saw a young apple tree translucent in brightness. And when I looked out at dawn, once again an apple tree laden with fruit stood there. Many years had probably gone by, but I remember nothing of what happened in my sleep. That's Milosh's state of mind. And I want to read another one that Jiashan is in, that sort of, in a way, just because it's a sweet koan, it's not, he doesn't show particularly wise in the koan. In fact, the opposite really, but this is also from the Book of Serenity. And the student asked Jiashan, what if you sweep away the dust and see the Buddha? What if the monkeys go behind the green peak? What if everything comes to rest? And Jiashan said, you have to wield your sword. If you don't, you'll be like a fisherman stuck in a tangle of reeds, unable to catch a single fish. And the student then went down the road to another friend of another great master just down the road, and said, Yeshang, and asked him, what if you sweep away the dust and see the Buddha? And Yeshang said, Buddha has no country. Where will you meet her? Where will you meet him? Buddha has no country. Where will you meet? The student reported this. The student went back to Jiashan and says, well, you know, Yeshang says. And Jiashan stepped up to the rostrum, the lecture place, and said, as far as gardening tools go, I'm much better than Yeshang, but for discourse on the deepest reality, he's 100 steps ahead of me. So, Buddha has no country, where will you meet her? Yeah, that sort of immersion in the vastness. I don't know. Tess Beasley, do you have anything you want to say?
Yesterday, I was taking my family to dinner, and it was it's been raining cats and whales and octopuses here, and so it was nice, soft evening and golden light, and the car had gone really quiet, and I think a couple of people might have even been asleep. And all of a sudden, this truck goes by with what seemed like a little food cart on the back. There's like a little hot dog stand. And all of a sudden, I had this wave of memory that when I was a little kid and I'd come back east, probably only about an hour from where I live now, my grandparents would always take me to see this woman that they would call the hot dog lady. And she had this wonderful, like on the side of the highway, little hot dog stand, and she was always incredibly kind to me. And for some reason, I don't know how long it's been since I thought of her, but I remembered how, as she got to know me a little better, as I got a little older, every time we'd go see her, she'd take all the money out of her little pockets that she had made that day, and she would get it all together and she would slip it to me. And my grandparents would always try to, say, don't take it, but she would make her so happy to give me this little pile of money. And I got thinking about it today, of just the bird alights on the monkeys, when the monkeys recede, and the bird with the flower in its beak alights on the blue cliff. It's like, when things go quiet, even the vastness that lives inside me of the things that I've experienced, or the memories I have, or the people I've encountered, just come forward in very different ways. And ever since then, I just kind of keep thinking of it with a smile, and remembering her and my grandmother considered themselves these like tough broads, and so they'd have their little pearl pistols and they'd go shooting together, and they just were, these kind of old school tough New England broads. And I just thought, you never know where the bird might come from, but it's kind of like that, I think.
John Joseph, you got anything you want to say?
Um, I love the story of the Jiashan and the boatman, and how the boatman said that your hook is just 3 inches too short, and he said something about how it's too late. It's too late to improve, and I was thinking about how often in my life that I felt my hook was just 3 inches too short, and how I'm sort of it's both beautiful and sad and frightening, and it's just perfect in itself, that hook being 3 inches short. And maybe the trick is, rather than lowering the hook further, is to bring the fish up 3 inches, or bring the sea up 3 inches, and wait for the universe to come to me. So I just, it really literally caught me, that anecdote.
Very good. It's a nice story. Yeah, that whole thing about, there are a lot of poems about that, like, if he, old in years, alone by the riverbank, he still hasn't caught a single fish, indicating he's there in the peace and vastness of it, just like that. John Bennett, anything you want to say?
I was meditating on the monkeys disappearing with their young behind the green mountains, and then Jordan's guitar music entered my universe, and it really felt like the bird with the flower in its beak flying in and landing next to me. It was quite wonderful. And then eventually the music stopped, and there was just that wonderful vastness that we all talk about, and there's nothing else to say about it. It's just what it is. And yeah, I guess that's all.
Thank you. Music is good for that, isn't it? Music is the monkey. Thank you, John. Thank you, John. Amanda, do you have anything you want to say? Yep.
Oh yeah, I was also really I liked that thing that I think you said, something like it's too late to fix it. You've got to just live, or something like that. And I'm not quite sure what to say about it, just other than and it's so relaxing. And just been thinking lately about how refreshing and liberating it is to notice that down deep, like my feelings don't matter so much, that there's just something deeper, and I can kind of dwell down there, and it's just so relaxing and refreshing.
Excellent. Yeah. The boat monk didn't, yeah. Even Jiashan didn't care about his feelings when the boat monk knocked him into the water. So, it was kind of nice. But also, he didn't care that he didn't understand. He'd been a phony pretending that he did, and all that stuff. It didn't matter. None of that mattered. Yeah. Thank you. That's great. Nicola, do you want to have anything you want to say?
Yeah. I'm looking out of the window, and there's some bird feeders out there. So there are birds on the feeders. And this morning I just thought, I think if I could go on watching these birds, I'd be happy forever. Which was, yeah, they make me very happy.
Very good. The eternal peace. Very good. It's always like that. After a while, you think, wow, everything, it's everywhere. It's in me walking past that petrol station with the smell of petrol and the sunlight and a couple of trucks trying to get in, you know, things like that. A friend brought me, there's a car in the driveway when I came up yesterday and having gone shopping, and I thought someone was just turning around, but the car didn't go away, and it turns out it was a friend bringing a baguette. So we got to talk. It was great. So it's just like that. Everything is pure and complete, you know. Everything is pure and complete. Is that something, I mean, so that's something to examine, the way we just step through that door, the way Jiashan did when he fell into the water, when he was knocked into the water. But there's a stepping. I suppose it's something we should talk about one of these Sundays. Heat is another way to get knocked into the water. This is Yeshang. I think these are Robert Haas's translations. Alas, I forgot to notate that. An hour. Leaves glowing in the sun, zealous hum of bumblebees. From afar, from somewhere beyond the river, echoes of lingering voices, and the unhurried sounds of a hammer gave joy not only to me. Before the five senses were opened, and earlier than any beginning, they waited, ready for all those who would call themselves mortals, so that they might praise, as I do, life, that is, happiness. So that they waited ready for all those who would call themselves mortals, so that they might praise, as I do, life, that is, happiness. So there you go, that's what we got. Okay. And if you think if you've got troubles in your life, it's in there too. It's not in there. That's your life. And thank you, everyone.